been
I
5 years for the All Things Story virtual workshop series with Story Crossroads, and the person at fault for it is Simon Brooks. Now, it only seemed fitting that for our 5 year anniversary that he would teach, but of course it's going to be something different. It is an average guy on an unusual path, a workshop journey on being a full-time storyteller. And so that's happening on Monday, September 1st, 2025. And yes, it's Labor Day of the United States, and it's going to be just a lot of fun because Simon, are you really that average? I mean, to be a storyteller in the first place, I kind of wonder tell me more about why you think you're average or why storytellers might feel like they are average before they
well, I
take
would
this
say
on.
that. I,
Yeah, because
I
well, I mean, just you say you're an average guy. I'm just trying to
well, I think
understand.
I think I am. I don't think there's anything special about me. I'm just a regular guy, right? I'm just an average guy that has found a very unusual path to follow. And I think that, my whole life career has been one of detours and changes, ever since I was, a kid. And so yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything special about me. I don't think there's anything unusual about me. I think I'm just a regular dude.
And yet special enough that people keep inviting you all the time, whether it be festivals or libraries and schools and so forth. So you have plenty of things to share. And so this workshop will delve into that. Now, I've always heard about you can be good, you can be better, you can be best. I've had people debate on, well, not maybe the best, but being the only. I'm
Right.
curious about just your feelings about good, better, best only in this
Well,
realm.
yeah. So I think that everyone can tell stories, right? They really can. Um, and what they do with those stories and where they tell them, I think that's when you start putting, labels on things, right? So like, we have family members that will sit down at the dining room table with the whole family around, and they will tell amazing stories, and they are good storytellers. They might even be great storytellers, but do they want to get up on a stage and do that? And it's like, I would say 9 times out of 10, no, they don't, right? They just want to share their stories with family and friends because that's what they love to do. And I think that's perfectly okay. I think that's wonderful. And I think there are some storytellers that do that and they want to go on stage, but they also, it's not stage material, right? They don't get that missing piece of the human, the human connection, the empathy, and all that kind of stuff. And so I think that, you know, I am a regular guy, with an unusual path, and the way that I think about that is that I work really hard at my craft, like any artist, like any person that does any job. You have to work hard at what you do to be good at it, right? You can't just be like, oh, I'm going to tell this story today and go out and perform it, right? That's not the thing, and that's the difference between a good storyteller and a great storyteller. And the best storyteller is the one who like keeps pushing themselves, right? And I don't like to use labels, but it's kind of a matrix, if you will. And I think when festivals are looking for someone,
Mhm.
they're not looking for someone that's really good around a dining room table. They're looking for someone that's pushing themselves, that's bringing new material to the world. That they're not just telling the same stories over and over again. They're actually coming up with new material. They're finding different ways of telling that material, and I think that's the difference that we're talking about. And these are some of the things that we're going to go through in the workshop.
Do you think these, you might say, above average storytellers tend to have a certain aura about them? I mean, some things it's hard to describe, and some things you can actually pinpoint and say, well, this can polish or make things better. So I just what about kind of the unseen part?
So I think that's the authenticity of the human being that's telling that story,
Mhm.
right? I think that everyone has their own uniqueness, and everyone has their own lens that they tell their stories through, because that lens is made up by their own life experiences. And so everybody's life experience is very, very different, and so they will bring that uniqueness to their storytelling. Now, how unique it really is, right, is when you have to really look hard at your work and say, well, this is what I bring that either nobody else brings or very few other people bring, right? And I think that's also an okay thing to bring. Is like, I'm unique in a little way, but it's different enough from what everybody else is doing and how everybody else is doing it to make me slightly different, and that slight difference is enough to make the festivals or whomever, right, conferences even, want you to come and perform. And whether that's within the storytelling world or if it's outside of the storytelling world, we all get calls from businesses saying, "Hey, we like your work. Can you come and do storytelling for us?" And so we do, which is awesome, and also a little bit scary at times.
Well, of course, that's the adrenaline rush. That's the adrenaline
Yes.
rush for storytellers. But you're also going to go into the practical things of
Yeah.
traveling and
Yes.
how to travel better. So even if you're someone who has already done that full-time storyteller path, you can still always grow and learn from that. So tell me more about the for those longtime storytellers that already are doing it at least part-time, or maybe they already are full-time, that these practical things could be really helpful.
Right. I mean, so I think that there's a lot of storytellers out there who work locally. There's still a large number of people that work on a more regional basis.
Mhm.
Here in New London, our state, in New Hampshire, our state's really teeny tiny, so it's very easy for me to cross states. But places like Utah, Arizona, California. California's kind of skinny, but it's very long up and down, right?
Yes.
And so it's kind of like, how far do you want to travel? Do you want to get on an airplane and fly? And do you want to have connecting flights because of where you live? Do you have kids that you need to look after? I mean, when I started storytelling professionally, I was a stay-at-home dad and a part-time children's librarian. So I was looking after my kids and also traveling. I was fortunate that I was able to take my son with me for quite a long time, and he was my roadie until about the age of 12. And you have to look at things like that. And we do have a daughter, and she is completely different to Aiden. And when she was little, I could not take her storytelling with me because she was a very different type of personality. And that brought up some issues. And so there were, you know, I was starting to go further and further afield. And then our daughter came along 5 years later, and it's like, okay, let's bring that back in a little bit more. And so there are these things that you need to look at. And those are the kinds of things that we'll be talking about, the practicalities of life and fitting this in.
So it's going to be quite the journey, the workshop
Yeah.
journey on
Yeah.
Monday, September 1st, 2025. Again, that is Labor Day in the United States, but it's in the morning time. Well, it depends on your time zone, but that way
Right.
you can still do your Labor Day things. And if you can't make it, then luckily we do record. It's not the same thing as virtual live, but that way you could still participate. So still register if that is the case for you. So you'll see that link below, storycrossroads.org/all things story. And there you can find the time zone converter. You can get the details, the registration, and until we tell again.
Bye.